What up, what up? It's Grant, back with another video. Probably your fourth or fifth favorite YouTuber at this point, right? Trying to get to number one, trying to win your heart and soul so we can have a wonderful relationship forever. This video is this video is about how to become more confident and more charismatic. I almost forgot. Now, I'm going to touch on confidence because I think when a lot of people say confidence, what they actually mean is how do I raise my self-worth? I think that's what they actually mean. And to me, words are extremely important. To a lot of people, they're not. But I'm going to touch on both of those, so I incorporated everything in here. So without further ado, let's jump in. So two massive keys here. Number one, confidence is domain specific, and competence equals confidence. What does that mean? So confidence is domain specific. Let's say you're a plumber. You're going to be very confident that you can go into any plumbing situation and fix it because you know you're competent in that area, right? Whereas if you're a brand new plumber and you've only just started on the job, even just thinking about that situation, about what you could fix, is going to kind of make you anxious because you're going to be like, oh man, there's a lot of stuff I don't know. If the client says something that I don't know, then I'm going to look like an idiot. You're not going to be that confident in your plumbing abilities because you don't have that competence yet. You haven't seen every situation pop up and be thrown at you. Does that make sense? So in the same way, that's like whatever you're dealing with is exactly the same. Now look at this. This is the visual that I created for this. Every little freaking circle thing here is one shitty attempt, okay? So this is what, let's say this is a bag of marbles, okay, red marbles. The person with no confidence, this is what their bag looks like. They might have like 20 little marbles in it of attempts, but they have no confidence. The person that's super confident, like me, right? They have a ton of red marbles in their bag, so their bag is all filled up, okay? Now, what does this mean in regular words? Let's say you want to be more confident approaching a girl. That's one example that a lot of guys can relate to. Or if you're a girl approaching a guy, whatever. It could work. You never know. If you're a guy and you've only approached 10 girls, well, you're going to have no confidence in your approaching abilities because you've only done it 10 times, bro, right? But the guys that are super confident in their ability to approach a girl, well, they've done it hundreds, if not thousands of times. You know what I mean? Sales is another good example. I've taken 20, 30, maybe even 40,000 sales calls in my life, which is absolutely insane, okay? Now, I am so confident in my sales ability that it's unreal. You know what I mean? And the reason that I feel that way is because I put in so many reps for 6 years. Whereas if you get somebody who's new on the phones, they're new to selling, they're not going to be that confident because they've never done it before. It's really that simple. But here's the thing that stops so many people. How come so many people aren't confident? It's because they don't understand what the learning process looks like. And they put their standards way too high. So notice how this marble here, the confidence marble that you need, is one shitty attempt. Why did I say one shitty attempt? Why is it even labeled like this? It's because attempts and you actually doing it and learning through experience is the thing that's going to make you more confident. But so many people can't do this because they want to do it perfectly the first time. It doesn't matter what you do the first time. You're not going to be good at it. I don't care what anybody tells you. So you have to be okay with sucking for the first few hundred reps. Let's say you're talking to a girl, or let's say you're approaching a girl. You're probably going to be awkward and weird your first 100 approaches. That everybody goes through that. I went through that. Everybody who does that went through that period. It's completely normal. You're not just going to be an absolute beast right when you start, unless it's a very small percentage of people. The average human, like me, right? The average human is going to have to kind of stumble through the learning curve. Now, here's what's so important. When you're stumbling through this learning curve, you don't beat yourself up for sucking, and you understand that everybody who's a master at something now was once a fool, was once a beginner, right? So Tony Hawk once first got on a skateboard and looked like an idiot. So in the same way, whatever you're trying to get confident about, you have to just fucking fuck up a ton of times and realize you're going to look like an idiot, keep going, and then do it and put these confidence marbles in your bag. Literally, that's how you get more confidence. You just add more marbles to the bag. That's all it is. You just get more reps. You just approach more girls. You just take more sales calls, okay? If you're a person who's taken 0 sales calls, you're probably not going to be confident. You've taken 300, you're going to be fairly confident. You've taken 40,000, you're going to be extremely confident about your sales calls. So really, that's all I'm saying. Now, what do I mean when I say it's domain specific? Well, here's what I mean. Yeah, sure, I've taken 40,000 sales calls, but when it comes to like rock climbing without a rope, I have no confidence in myself in that anyway, because I haven't practiced. I haven't put marbles in the bag, right? I haven't actually done it. So a lot of people are like, well, how can I be confident if I've never done it? You can't, because you've never done it. You have to suck at first, keep putting marbles in your bag, but understand when you're putting those marbles in your bag and you're getting experience, you are going to be bad at first. That is okay. You have to give yourself permission to suck. If you can do that, if you can be okay with sucking at something in the beginning, I swear to God, you can learn anything that you want. You become confident in anything because that's a skill that nobody has. Okay? So that's literally how to become more confident. I could end the video right here, but I'm not going to because I'm dropping super fire value. Now, let's talk about self-worth. Because a lot of people talk about, oh, I want to become more confident. And I just gave them the answer. I'm like, get more reps in, bruh. And they're like, oh, no, it's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about like just feeling good about myself and like doing good. Okay, whatever. So when we talk about stuff like that, usually what people talk about is the image of themselves. And when it comes to charisma and social confidence, there's two key areas that I have identified in myself back when I was not the most confident that I think are very important to draw your awareness to. So number one is the worthiness that you feel about yourself of taking up space in conversations. So everybody has what they call their conversational familiarity pocket. Now, I just made that up on the spot, but that's how I think about it. It's like a conversational familiarity pocket. It's what part of the conversation they're comfortable taking up. So for example, you might find that you like to talk half of the time, and the people that you talk to talk half of the time as well. Okay? You might find that you like to talk only 10% of the time, and you like listening to somebody talk to you. Okay? So then if you have someone else who likes to talk 10% and you like to talk 10%, it's kind of an awkward conversation because you guys both don't like to take up space in the conversation. Does that make sense? So we all have our natural fit. Now, you can always change this, and I'll touch on this when we get to static versus dynamic paradigms, but you have your default base thing, right? And that's why, like, when you get somebody who is used to talking 90% of the conversation with another person that's used to talking 90% of the conversation, it's a dick measuring contest. It's crazy because they just both want to talk the whole time. That's what happens. So the first thing that you need to draw awareness to is, what is your worthiness of you taking up space in conversations? Are you the talker? Are you the listener? Figure that out. Number two, you need to be worthy of attention focused onto you. What does this mean? This means that when you're talking to somebody, you're going to recognize that they are actually putting their full attention on you. They are looking at you. You are taking up their attention. They are paying you attention. You are literally taking up their life hours. Now, if you're not worthy, if you feel like you're not worthy of this, you're going to do weird stuff to get their attention away. You're going to like put your head down and put your hand away, or you're going to become really quiet or like shy away. You don't want to do this. You want to take the beam of their attention and you want to bask in it. You want to realize that, why me? Right? Why you? Why can't you take their attention? Would you rather have them scrolling on Twitter looking at dumb things, right? Even though I love Twitter. Or would you, have them talking to you? So too many people, they aren't comfortable with holding attention in a one-on-one setting. Like literally, they feel like they're wasting somebody's time, or they're not worthy of being listened to. You have to get over that stuff. You have to realize, why not you? You are just as worthy at the core as anybody else. Okay? From a self-love standpoint, if we want to go that route. Now, are people better than you at things? Of course. So like, if you're in a National Plumbers Association meeting and there's a plumber that's been doing it for 30 years, well, we should probably be listening to that guy instead of you about plumbing. But you get what I'm saying. If you're in a conversation, in a one-on-one setting most of the time, you need to be okay with the tension of eye contact and the tension of them focusing on you in conversation. So this is something you can consciously practice. When you're talking to people, you can become aware of this and you can be like, okay, I'm getting kind of uncomfortable because they're putting all their attention on me, but I'm worthy of this. This is what I was born to do. Hold attention. So I'm gonna bask in this and have a wonderful time. Right? It's all about fun and have a good vibes. So keep that in mind, and I think that'll help you out a lot. Now, let's talk about static versus dynamic paradigms. What does that mean? A paradigm is how you view the world and what you believe is true and how the world functions. Too many people have a static paradigm about themselves. This means that they identify with things that aren't serving them because they think how you're born is how you die. So they say stuff like, well, I'm introverted. Or they say stuff like, well, I'm quiet. Or they say stuff like, well, I'm reserved. Or I get anxious when I do this. all these statements are statements of belief. You're identifying with a belief and you're confusing your belief for a trait in yourself. Does that make sense? That's a static paradigm. It's where people feel like they're locked in to their current version of themselves. Now, is that true? That's an interesting conversation because to them it's true, but to me it's not true. I don't believe in static identities. I believe in dynamic identities because I've experienced it myself. So a lot of people, when we talk about paradigms, we're going under the surface here. We're going to how they literally make up reality in their own mind. We're in the fundamental structure of how their mind works. Okay? So for example, a lot of dudes will ask me, hey Grant, how do I talk, what's the perfect thing to say to a girl? That's the wrong paradigm. So literally the questions that they're asking, I can tell what paradigm they're in. They're in the wrong paradigm. What question? There's nothing that, and from my paradigm, it's so clear to me, like, it doesn't matter what you say, it matters how you say it. But they can't fathom that because they think, oh, I just need to say the right word. It's going to unlock the magical key, because they don't understand anything else about the world because they're coming from the wrong paradigm. Does that make sense? So understand that whether you're quiet or you're not charismatic or you're introverted or whatever you're telling yourself, you can change if you believe you can change. Okay? That's a dynamic paradigm. That means I used to have panic attacks in grocery stores. I was so socially anxious. I used to not be charismatic. I used to not be as open and as funny. I was really shy, believe it or not. But I fixed this in myself because I am doing what I told you how to. I'm doing what I'm telling you now. So when it comes to dynamic paradigms, be very attentive to the language that you're using in your own life and how you're identifying with yourself. So you saying stuff like, I'm an introvert, I'm quiet, I'm not charismatic, I'm X, I'm this. That stuff is damaging you from becoming who you want to be. Even, and we're going to get really meta here, even the fact that you're looking up videos on how to become more charismatic is embedded in that search the assumption that you're not charismatic. Can you see the flaw there and the error? You even researching this stuff is re-embedding the fact that you're not there yet. Okay? Now, at first, you have to go through that process because you have to build up the skills, so you need to learn how to do this. But eventually, you'll just stop looking stuff up because you'll realize, well, I can just change it on my own, which is crazy, but you'll get there eventually. That's a paradigm, that you'll eventually get to. So understand this, though. This is two very important parts here. So when you have the dynamic paradigm, you're going to be changing yourself. So you're going to be visualizing the new version of yourself. So you're going to start saying to yourself, I'm extroverted and I love people. You're going to start changing your beliefs. You're going to say, I'm extroverted and I love people. You're going to say, I'm very charismatic. You're going to say, people love listening to me. I'm worthy of other people's attention and time. I can take my time when I speak, and that's perfectly okay because people want to pay attention to me. These are the things that you have to start telling yourself and you have to start incorporating into your life. Now, is this an affirmation? Not really. Affirmations are different than changing of beliefs because when you're changing your beliefs, you're practicing it in the real world. So basically, like, let's say you have the current belief like you're not worthy of other people's attention when you're talking. How do you change that belief? Well, you start telling yourself, you know what? Why you need logic. You need logic to beat your old belief, right? You're out arguing yourself. So you're like, why not me actually? Because I see people that are worthy of attention all the time, and they're not any different than I am. We're both humans. We share 99.99% of DNA. How come it's not me? Well, oh my God, it could be me if I want it to be me. So fuck it. I'm going to believe that it's me. So then you go start having conversations with people, and every time that you feel that you're not worthy, you catch yourself in the moment, right? Some quick meditation right there. And you're like, you know what? That feeling no longer serves me. I'm gonna believe that I'm worthy of attention. So then you start taking up more time. People ask you a question, you genuinely think about it. You're like, you know what? That's a really good question. And you take your time because now you feel like you're worthy of attention and time. Okay? Now, when you start changing yourself, and when you enter a dynamic paradigm for your identity, and you start changing yourself, you're gonna feel a gap, right? There's gonna be a gap between the current version of yourself and the confident, charismatic version of yourself. Okay? Now, this is not being fake. Too many people use statements like, this isn't me. I'm not I'm not sticking to my roots. I'm not being who I am. Again, that's coming from a static paradigm. You don't want to tell yourself stuff like that. You want to be okay with completely acting like somebody that you're not all the time. I do this literally all the time. My identity is so fluid, it's absolutely insane. I hold very few things absolutely true unless they absolutely serve me in all situations. I've audited basically every belief you can imagine. So I've done the work, trust me, and you can as well. So when you first start acting more charismatic, it's not going to feel like yourself. You're going to feel like you're acting. And here's a quote that I want you to write down. A lot of your personal growth and a lot of your personal change is going to feel like acting at first. Sorry to break the news to you, bucko. So you have to think about, what are the behaviors that I want to incorporate? And I have some charismatic behaviors right here that I'll bring in here. But you have to think, okay, who do I want to become? And you have to start acting like that. Now, what are you going to feel when you're doing that? You're going to feel like, oh my God, they're going to catch me being somebody I'm not. But guess what? You're nobody to begin with, because all your beliefs about your identity are completely made up in your own head because you've just chosen a random one to identify with. So you saying, oh, that's not me. Yeah, it is, because you can do it, right? The behavior that you're like, oh, well, that's not me. Well, that behavior is literally inside of you because you can do it. Does that make sense? Like, it's inside of you, so it is actually still a part of you. You're just not identifying with it. Does that make sense? Because that's so massively powerful. You're going to feel like, oh, that's not me, right? But guess what? You're doing the behavior, so it quite literally is you. It's inside of you, but you're not identifying with it. So the identity is the problem, and that's where the dynamic and static paradigms come in. Now, you also want to decide you're just going to go on your own branch permanently. What does this mean? This means that you're just going to do what you want to do forever. So who cares what people think? Who cares if you're weird? Who cares if you're a little quirky? Who cares if the way you think isn't how society thinks? Who cares if the way that you view reality is completely different than anybody that you know? Who cares? You have to decide that you're going to go off on your own branch. All the other birds are on the one branch, you're on a branch way out in the distance, okay? And you can be on this branch way out and still blend in with the normal humans. That's totally okay. I do that all the time. You can definitely do that, right? You can see by a lot of my videos and the TikToks, my mindset is almost opposite of a lot of people. I have a very unique mindset in many ways. Yep. You know what I mean? So that's what you want to create for yourself, because like there's beliefs that you think that are yours that you don't even like. So you have to decide, okay, I'm just going to be fully myself and F it. All right. Now, once you get to that point and you understand everything up until this point, focus on the actual behaviors that make you more charismatic. What are those? Number one, you want to start emoting. Okay? This is emoting with your face and with your hand gestures. And this is talking with your whole being. If you notice when I talk, the ideas, and this is because I understand my ideas. So understand that if people are rehearsing things to you, rehearsing is not understanding. I only talk about things that I truly understand. And what does that mean? That means when I understand something, it's in my being. It is in my core. So when I talk about it and I speak about it, my whole body is in the act of articulation. My whole body is participating in the articulation of the ideas to you or to anybody. Does that make sense? Like, I'm talking to you, but I'm also in my brain thinking about things, but I'm also feeling the ideas in my body. So you want to talk with your being. Too many people are afraid to feel. I'm not afraid to feel. So I can go into my body and I can basically ground myself. And when I explain ideas to you, every part of my being is in this idea. Does that make sense? And when you do that, naturally you're going to start emoting. So your voice is naturally going to have more tonality. Can you hear my tonality? Naturally, more tonality. Now, I didn't used to talk like that. I used to be very monotone all the time. I used to be like, they would make fun of me when I had my sales job. They're like, dude, you literally don't have tone. You just have one thing. And so I really had to work on my tonality. And a big part of getting your tonality better, so instead of talking like this and being really boring and everything you say is only one tone because you're afraid to feel in your body, because you had a traumatic childhood and you're afraid to express, you can actually get to the point where you start feeling, and you start feeling amazing, right? So that's just a practice. But keep in mind, girlfriend texting me, baby. So keep in mind, emoting the face, emoting the body, hand gestures are very important, but all these things take care of themselves when you start talking with your being, when you start putting the things in your body, okay? Now, vocal tonality, speed, energy, all very important. So if you notice when I talk, sometimes I talk extremely quickly to make a point, right? Sometimes I talk really fast to just kind of give you the information, and then I'll slow down to make a point, is what I meant to say. So like sometimes I'll talk really fast, I'll give you a bunch of context really quickly because I know your attention is valuable, and I'll just kind of blah, 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 and then I slow down when I make a point. Can you hear that? So the speed is slower and the tone changes. And if you want to hear something really crazy, see, you see what I did there? So I changed my voice to be like, hey, this is super important. Listen to this. I can't let anybody else hear because it's so important. That's what voice can do, because your voice is always sending messages out with your tonality. So your words are whatever. But so like here's an example. Come here. Come here. Come here. Same words, different meanings. Now, this is a very important one as well. Being myself over social consequences. Too many people aren't aware of the values and their value hierarchy. What does this mean? It means that they don't know, they're confused about their life because they can't get results in their life. And the reason they can't get results is because their values are all messed up. And they can't see it because they don't have sight, because they haven't meditated, because they haven't watched the Mind Hacks video. You know what I'm saying? So you have to align your values like this. And I don't want to tell you how to align your values, right? Because everyone has their own values. But if you want to become more confident, these are two values that have to be one over the other. So a lot of people have, I just want to fit in and I want people to like me. That value is higher than, I'm just going to be myself to the fullest and whatever happens, happens. You need to flip this. So your ultimate value when it comes to being social should be, I'm going to be myself no matter what, and I'm never going to compromise that for anybody or anyone, no matter high status I think they are. That's where your highest value should be. And underneath that should be, I want people to like me. Okay? So you're putting being you as the ultimate top value, which means that, oh, you don't like me because I'm being me? Who cares about you? I don't literally care about you at all. I don't need you. I'm going to keep being myself because I love myself, right? So it's a value, or it's an organization of values on your value hierarchy. Does that make sense? So you need to put being yourself as more important than getting other people to like you for stupid reasons. And the last part is not a good fit. So I do this all the time. So I have that video that's how to get over rejection forever. It's the law of 33%. Now, I do that all the time in my mind, and that's literally one of the frameworks that I use. I literally only give you guys frameworks that I actually use. I don't just make stuff up or regurgitate stuff. I give you the facts in my brain. So if I'm talking to somebody, I understand 33% of the people that I talk to are going to hate me no matter what. So if I get somebody that doesn't like me and I'm being myself, I just think, oh, not a good fit. Whatever. I'm going to go find somebody that is. I literally do not care. I have an ultimate abundance mindset. I know there's billions of people and they're going to come into my life no matter what. And I'm going to have, there's so many good fits out there. Why would you ever stay with a bad fit? That's where my mind's at. So when somebody is mean to me or we're not a good fit, I'm just like, whatever. I just don't care. You know, like, that's why, like, if somebody roasts me and says like, oh, you're this or you're that, I'm just like, you're not a good fit for me. I don't literally care what you say. You know what I mean? Like, I genuinely don't care. Like, who cares? It doesn't matter. So once you have all of these things combined into your mental worldview, you're going to become way more confident because you know that, hey, if I want to become more confident, I just got to do the thing, right? You're going to become aware of your self-worth issues because you're like, oh, I'm worthy of taking up attention now. Okay? You're going to be aware of the, oh, my ring light just died. You're going to be aware of like the things that you have to do to actually come off as charismatic, which is not giving an F what anybody thinks about you because you value yourself over anything they say, your facial expressions, your emoting, all that stuff. So I think this was a helpful video. Somebody requested it in the comments. That's really all I have to say. Deuces.